Hello. Welcome back to the Excuse Me Brother podcast. As you can tell, I'm hosting again. It's your boy, Brother Tay. And with me on the turntable it is...
Producer J? I feel like that has a better ring to it. If you're going to say Brother J, Producer J, or Brother Tay, Producer J, you know?
I'm down with Producer J, that's fine.
Okay.
That makes it easier to write on the summaries when I have to describe the episode.
There you go.
The memory.
There you go.
So when I do like the summaries for every episode and put it on YouTube and like the podcast websites.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not like I listen to it. I go up based on my own memory of what happened.
It's like a Spark Notes version of like what we talked about.
Absolutely, I'd be like, all right, what was funny to me? What stood out the most? And then I'd be like, that happened. Right,
yeah.
Good.
So, I mean, obviously, Brother Jay is not here again. He's gonna take a brief hiatus to take care of some personal issues, but he will be back when he's ready. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be filling in for him on a weekly basis. So
yeah, because technically I can't talk to myself without some psych help.
I was gonna say you could talk to yourself, but I don't know how healthy that is.
That's gonna lead to a lot more questions than we need to get into.
Perhaps. Well, speaking of being by yourself, today's topic: loneliness in men. So, because I feel like
lonely.
What happened?
It's like this brother lonely. Hold on.
This brother lonely.
What are you doing? I'm being interrupted by dogs again.
It happens.
I got a crier under my table. Why are you crying?
He wants to be part of the podcast too.
This is she. She just
she
under my table. Yeah, I don't understand. I'm not. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
No. So Tay, have you or are you or have you ever been lonely before?
I guess. Yeah. Let's say yes.
Really? You have to think about that one.
Oh, because I don't normally feel lonely. Like,
really, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't ever really feel lonely. Mostly because, like, even when I was doing stuff, before I ever got into a relationship, I never really understood the idea of loneliness. Well, I didn't feel lonely until I got into a relationship. Because then that's like...
Wait, you talking about like after the fact or like while you were in it?
A little bit of both. It wasn't too much of a sense. Like when I was in the serious relationship,
right?
There were times I felt lonely because like it was just like that. I guess just that it was just happening that day. Like sometimes you'll just go through a moment where you just feel lonely. Yeah, but definitely after the breakup, it was definitely a part of time. I'm like, damn, I feel lonely.
Right. But, I mean, I feel like that's kind of like the trope post relationship. Like you just go through your lonely phase. Like everybody got to go through it. I don't think there's a person alive, male or female, that doesn't go through that phase after a relationship.
Yeah, but now that I think you don't really ever really get out. Like, but it's been a while since I felt like I've been sitting down like, damn, I feel lonely. Like it's been a very good a few months ever since I felt like that.
Really? How long did it last? Like when you were going through it, if you can recall.
Maybe like 2 days, maybe.
Really?
It wasn't.
You don't really go through it a lot, like.
Like I felt heartbreak, but like I was personally, as you listen to the podcast, I have a lot of friend groups, man. I have a lot of friends.
That's it. Well, yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I was actually doing some reading on this topic, and apparently one of the main reasons why men feel lonely is because I think it was like since 1995, the amount or the percentage of lonely men has dropped, or the percentage of men who don't feel lonely has dropped from 50% to 27%. So
a percentage of men who don't feel lonely.
Yeah. And that's mostly due to their friend groups. Like, not a lot of people have large or even close friend groups anymore. Since back in the day.
To tell you the truth, as someone who's seen, like, I don't really have a lot of relationship like experience. Like, a lot of people you'll talk to, they'll be like, "Oh, I have like this," like they'll be like, "I have like 5 ex-girlfriends or like 7 to like double digits." I've only technically I only have like 2. Okay. I only have 2 ex-girlfriends, so I'm not really the best when it comes to relationship status stuff.
Right.
Or like not relationship status, like relationship experience. Though the relationships were long. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I do. I've definitely seen as my friends got in a relationship, I've seen people, men and women, like as they get into a relationship, they just kind of cut off people.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I kind of think that's really what leads to that. It's both men and women. Like, once they're in a relationship, they like spend less time and like they're cutting off friend groups. They're cutting off friends. And they're like, I'm just all I need. It's like, I'm just gonna spend all my time with my significant other until like it doesn't unfortunately work out, because sometimes it just doesn't.
Right.
Then they're just there, like, I got no one to message because I spent 6 months like not talking to people.
Right.
And then you got the anxiety. Then you got to be like, I don't know if I should message anyone. How they're gonna feel about me?
It's interesting you say that, because generally in that article that I was reading, they say that men are more lonelier than women are, specifically for that reason. Because when men are in a relationship, like you said, they tend to kind of cut off their friends. Not to like say, oh, like I don't want to do anything with them. It's just like they feel like they want to spend more time with their significant other, because they don't want them to be like neglected or whatever. Contrast to women who tend, not to say it's all women, but women tend to stick with their friends and do more stuff with their friends while in a relationship, so that if anything were to happen to that relationship, that friendship is still there. Whereas with men, it's a little bit more of a struggle.
A lot of girls, a lot of women like to stick. They stick together. Men stick together too, which is why, like, as a person, I'm more of a friend. I'm definitely a fan of like not cutting off people when you're in a relationship.
Right. I mean, I try not to. I'm not gonna lie. I do fall. I am a little bit guilty of that. Whenever, like, I feel like, because I don't really have a lot of friends to begin with, but I feel like I feel guilty because I'm not the type to do stuff for myself. So whenever like the opportunity to hang out with friends comes around, or like if I get invited to stuff, I feel like I need to see if it's okay, if it's not going to be a bother, which generally speaking it's not. But still, it's like an internal thing that I'm not
gonna lie to you. So when I was in my relationships, whenever I got invited by my friends to go anywhere, I definitely just went. I didn't even give a fuck. Oh shit! I'm not like, the only thing I asked, I'd be like, "Hey, I would literally be like, "Hey, do we have anything planned this day?" And she's like, "No," I'd be like, "All right, cool. I'm gonna hang out with these people that day then."
I feel like for me, it's more of just a personal thing. I just have anxiety about that stuff, so I just tend to ignore it, and I'm just like,
Oh no, I'm all like, in any relationship I've ever been in, they're like, "Oh, like, do you want to hang out with this?" I was like, "Nah, I already agreed to go somewhere else." So now, you can message me. I'll answer your messages when I get the chance, because like I'm always, even like if I'm in a relationship with someone and they text me, I normally text back as soon as I see it. Like, I text back really fast.
Right.
But other than, like, you don't, like, I'm gonna tell you everything that's happening. Like, if you get jealous or anything like that, there's nothing I can help you with. Like, I can just tell you straight up. That's how a lot of my things go. I'm like, hey, like, they'll be like, I kind of feel like you're spending a lot of time with your friends. I'm like, they invite me places. Like, we ain't playing nothing.
Like Granted, like, at least in my particular case, most of my time is mostly dedicated to my kids. So that's,
you got kids.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. But generally speaking, like I said, men feel like they can't, not that they can't, but they generally tend not to stick with their friends post relationship, or it's not that they don't stick with them, but they're afraid, not afraid, but they don't reach out, you know? Like, it takes somebody coming in to like say, hey, yo, you good? What's going on? Like, men don't really speak up about their feelings, and granted, that was a whole nother episode that you guys talked about. But that leads into loneliness and men. It's like, it's kind of like self-inflicting, you know?
I'm still mad about the introduction to the episode. Don't bring it back. I'm still salty about that.
It's all good.
Not really salty, but like, damn, that really hurt.
Nah, I get it, but that's what I'm saying though. It's like, it's one of those things that we don't. It's like a subconscious thing that when we're dealing with, when men deal with stuff, we tend to deal with it alone, and that's not good.
Or you tend to deal with it alone, or like you still, as someone, I'm gonna tell you, like, personally, I deal with all my issues alone, but I still like go out like to put a public face on. Well, like, so no, man, I had, if women put on makeup, goddamn, this face hides a lot of issues. I ain't gonna hold you. They're like, you good? I'm like, yeah. You see me smiling and laughing, and inside, man, why that person have to die? Oh, but I want you to know this. I saw this video, and this shit had me rolling, and it made me feel so sad. I'm sorry to cut it off.
What's that?
But like, I was on, I think I was on Instagram, and this dude was like how I feel after I seen 22 of my friends get killed this year.
What the hell?
And my brain went, I was like, 22 this year?
That was in this.
I was like, oh no. I was like, you lost.
Yeah, no, like, that's very.
I'm like, give up, homie. You lost the team. You lost the football team. That's what you lost.
Yeah,
like, it is over.
After that, I don't even know how I could even continue. Like, I was like, I don't even need friends anymore. They're all gonna
continue. If the fact that he said 22 got killed, I'm like, yo, who's killing these people?
Right.
Like, are they all accidental?
I'm gonna say, like, are they in a gang? Is that?
I don't know. I didn't look into it, but my brain went like, God damn, 22? The most I buried in a year was 6. I can't do 22.
That's excessive.
Excessive. I quit.
Definitely a mess.
If I lose 22 friends in 1 year, I'm moving back to my parents and staying in the basement. Don't ever call me.
Solitary confinement.
Don't call me because now I'm cursed.
I was gonna say, like, I don't want you to be hurt by my friendship.
Like, you want to be friends with me? You might as well pick out your box right now.
There you go.
Pick out your box. Pick out your urn. It's not happening, bro. You ain't making it past whatever age you are right now.
Yeah, no, that's a lot.
I'm sorry. Continue.
No, that's good. No, so like, just speaking from like personal experience, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've been lonely a lot, and honestly, it's tough because like I said, men tend to like take it on the chin, just deal with it and just power through, and I feel like that's what I had to do because, again, going back to the whole thing, like, people don't really listen, and maybe not that they don't listen, maybe some do, but they don't like try to understand like what you go through. So whenever I dealt with my bouts of like loneliness and stuff, like, I tried to like distract myself and not to pretend like I'm not going through it, but like just focus, like hyper focus on something. And for me, I mean, we talked about it before, like video games, it's like an outlet, it's an escapism, and I felt like that was for me. Do you have like outlets that you?
I have. So I don't really, like I said, whenever I go through like bouts of stuff like that, like video games is a good outlet from like things like that, like we talked about last week. Mm-hmm. I also like to like write, like create stories and create poems. Wow. Some of them I don't share. I do share a lot of them with another friend of mine. And then this is before, because I had therapy before.
Right.
So before I was doing therapy, I kind of would just like, I always was able to like to just sit down by myself just to try to see if I knew what was going on. just not to be afraid to just to be alone in my thoughts to see where it leads me.
See, it can be very good, but it also can be very bad. It depends on how.
It's a very weird slope to go to, because some days, when you go through it, because when you go through certain things, you'll leave it. If you try to go through it, you don't know how far it's going to take you, and then you don't know if you didn't go far enough.
True.
So it's a really weird slope to always be on.
Right. And that's also, you brought up, therapy. That's also, a good outlet for if you feel like you are alone. And granted, I probably should take my own advice because, I've been talking about it, looking into it, but, for whatever reason, I just can never just bite the bullet and do it. Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those things that I just need to just go and dive headfirst into.
If you do it, as a friendly advice, do not be afraid to not be like, I'm not connecting with this therapist. I need a different one.
See, I feel that was probably one of my fears. Is what if I feel like it's not working? Do I just keep going, or what?
Sometimes it's just not. Sometimes you just don't connect with a therapist. It's fine. Some people, you might get this therapist. You'll be like, oh, the first session went well, and the second session you're like, I didn't get anything out of it. And then you want to try a third time, and you don't get anything out of it again. It may not be you. It may just you and this therapist didn't really connect well this time. It's no shame in being like, hey, I appreciate it, but I think I need to find someone that I can connect to a little better than I can with you.
Right.
This is how some people are.
I mean,
when I had a black female therapist, which I was able to connect to. But and part of me is I wonder what it would have been if I got an African American male therapist. I wonder what would have been the different advice that would have been given to me then.
Yeah, you could have connected better.
Maybe I felt I was connected with the therapist I had, but part of me is man, I could have would have been different. What is the difference if I got something else? What if I even got an Hispanic male therapist or a Hispanic woman therapist? Oh, because every culture is different.
Right. They handle stuff differently.
Uh-huh.
So let's talk about how loneliness can be a positive and a negative.
Let's go.
So I'm gonna talk about the negative first, just because I feel like that's the easiest topic. So oftentimes when men feel lonely, they tend to take it out on women. And that's what leads to what we call toxic masculinity and all that stuff.
Okay.
Why you didn't?
No, just never really thought about it that way. I can see.
No, I mean, generally speaking, if you listen to all these freaking the Andrew Tates and Fresh and Fits or whatever, you can tell in their arguments and what they say that it's from a place of loneliness. That they probably had somebody in their past that freaking screwed them up, whether it be a relationship, a family member, a parent, whatever the case may be, that they were just completely traumatized from it, and they internalized it while they went through their lonely phase, and it came out as misogyny.
It came out like that, and they never really faced it.
Exactly. So now they feel like that's who they are, and that's the only way to view life because of what they went through.
No, I can see that.
And that
I never really until you said it, it just never really clicked in my mind like that. Because I've definitely seen people who've been this heartbreak has I've been heartbroken, so I'm never going to trust this. I'm never going to trust women again. Especially in movies and TV shows.
No, I went through it too. In my last relationship after that, I went through a really dark time where I was just you know what, fuck everything. I don't want to deal with women anymore. It was, I mean, granted, it didn't last that long, but it happens. And I was able to break myself out of that mindset, but a lot of people aren't. They dwell in it, they soak it in, and that becomes who they are, and it ruins it for everybody else, because then they set a bad example for other men, and it's a bad image to put out there.
No, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. I can definitely see it. It's just weird. It's all. It always amazes me how like so many like one event can lead to so many other outcomes in someone's personality and the way they think. It's always interesting.
That's honestly, it's crazy because like whenever I see somebody like that, I try to not like overanalyze, but I try to see it. It's what do they call it? Is it empathy? I always get sympathy and empathy mixed up.
I think it's empathy.
It's empathy where you can put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, empathy is when you put yourself in someone else's shoes. Sympathy is just when you feel bad for the person.
Right. So like I tend to like be empathetic towards people who react or act out that way because
you feel like it could have been you.
Well, not necessarily that it could have been me, but I want to see like what were the steps that led them to this point? Because like everybody starts somewhere. It's not like just somebody's just like that. Like something had to happen. Like you don't. I mean, unless they're just raised that way.
Yeah, some people are raised that way. But then again, you're still like that's empathy and curiosity because you're like, I wonder.
True.
Like you feel for them, and you're able to put yourself in their shoes because you'd be like, okay, this happened, and then that happened, so now I can see it. And then, but that's also curiosity. You'd be like, damn, what else happened that led to this? That's something I am over empathetic. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. No, I am too.
And that's not even when it comes to like just feeling lonely. It's about any situation that's happening.
Yeah. No, I in general I am like that because I like to. I mean, maybe this might be naive of me, but I like to look at the good in people. Like even the worst person. Well, maybe not the worst person, but like in relation to like my life, the worst people that I can think of have gone through certain things in their life that led them to be where they are and why I don't like them. That doesn't, me being empathetic towards them doesn't mean that I'm just automatically gonna forgive them. But I like to understand, you know.
No, I got it. You're more. I'm more of a. I just like to see things from from three sides of the story because everyone says there's always two sides to the story. Technically, there's always three sides to a story.
Well, yeah, there's one side, and there's the other, and then there's the truth.
The four of them.
Well, what was the one you're thinking of?
I was thinking it's your if it's my side, it's your side. It's the person that watched it all happen, and then it's the truth. That's what I was thinking. Well, but the truth and the person that watched could be the same story.
Well, it also depends on like the person, who is the person who witnessed it, because they can have like certain biases.
Absolutely, because like when it comes to memory, as humans, we don't always remember things exactly how it is. We will put a memory buffer, and it's like to fill some of the holes that makes us look that make you look good or make you look bad depending on your mental state.
Right.
A lot of people like to see themselves in the light, but I always just want to know what all the sides of the story were that led to this. I'm like, okay, this person's angry with this person. All right, why? Why is this person angry? Why does this person not get it? What really happened?
Yeah, I mean,
Did you see what happened?
I do that too whenever like a controversy happens, and I try to like get all the information because a lot of people tend to like just pick a side rather than actually formulate their own opinion.
That's a lot of people now. It's a very quick reaction place.
Yeah,
that's for another episode.
Right? Yeah, we can go on a whole tangent about that.
That's reaction. That's reaction culture now.
Oof. True, very true. So what are some of the positives about being lonely?
As I can think of one, I'm not going to look it up because I'll look it up later. But I think one of the positive things one of the positivity things about being lonely is that it kind of leads you into an interesting state of mind where you don't know where you're going to come out. Like you can come out motivated, or you can come out understanding yourself more than you have.
Right.
Or it might just because you're lonely, it might going to lead you to it might lead you to solutions that you didn't think of. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You're like, it's like, okay, like I'm sad, like I'm alone, like I feel lonely. Why do I feel like some people will be like, I just feel lonely and there's nothing I can do about it. Some people will be like, why do I feel lonely? Why do I feel what is like some of the main causes that makes me feel lonely?
Yes,
and
then
like
they
what
can
are
like.
them? Not you go on.
Oh no, that they can address it like head on.
Mm-hmm.
See, like personally, I um I'm kind of like that, where like whenever I dealt with being lonely, I at first it starts out bad because I get into my own thoughts, I get in and like start thinking negatively, but I end up realizing that whenever I'm like backed into a corner, whenever I feel like I am alone in certain things, I always tend to persevere. And it granted I don't like being in that state, but it's put me in positions where I had to succeed, where I had to figure things out because otherwise I was no use to anybody. And like I said, me being a father, like I can't just sit around and mope, you know, as much as I want to.
Yeah. So I can tell you. I looked it up. So I'm gonna tell you some things that come out from being solid, from feeling lonely. What loneliness can help you with.
Right.
Which is one of the first ones that comes up. Is something we literally just talked about. Was that it leads? Being alone leads to an increase in empathy.
Right.
Like you're able to empathize with people a lot more because you've been alone.
That makes
sense.
It
also sparks creativity. Being alone helps your mind. Supposedly they say those who spend more time alone are known to be more creative.
Well, yeah, like you said, like you like to do poems and write.
Mm-hmm. And as a person, yeah.
But I'd say right now, I used to draw when I was younger. Granted, I wouldn't say I was lonely, but when I was alone and I didn't really go out and do stuff, I would draw, and I would draw like Dragon Ball Z stuff, and I would like trace stuff. I actually made my own comic one time.
You was a special nerd.
Hey man, I wish I knew where those were. They were freaking cool. At least when I was younger.
I'm positive they were great, but like I can say, you was a special nerd. You were great. There's two more. So being alone can help you build mental strength. As we are social creatures, it's important for us to have connections with people. But solidarity also makes it important, so that way when you are alone, you are able to strengthen your mental strength and your own connection with your inner self.
That's very true.
Enough. And then the last one is kind of the same thing, but being alone gives you the best opportunity to enjoy and plan your life.
I mean,
there's not much I can say on that one, but like, it's more of the ideas like because you're alone, because have you ever heard of the saying, the person who smiles the hardest is the one that's felt the most pain?
I haven't, but I agree with that.
Yeah, so it's pretty much like the person who smile. So like you smile and you appreciate things more because you were at a point in time where you didn't have any of it. That's pretty much what it's trying to say.
Right.
Which is I say that because I think where did I hear that from? I know it has something to do with anime though. I'm not sure if it was from an anime, but I'm sure it's something to do with anime. Like the person who smiles the hardest cried the most. The person who's willing to sacrifice the most for their friends is because they had no friends to begin with. Like a stuff like
probably that. Yeah, because they're the ones who went through the most. So
yeah, the person who's more willing to sacrifice more is already knows because they don't want no one else to feel the pain that they already felt. Right. Something like that.
But see, that's also the issue. Like we talked about before, that like when people deal with that feeling of loneliness, depression, whatever the case may be, that they tend to like keep it inside because releasing it is not always easy. And I think that's why more people are lonely now than in the past, because for whatever reason, I don't really have like any stats on it or whatever, but more people now don't reach out. Like they don't ask for help.
No, it's also to do with that. So I'm the one who brought up the subject of this, and the reason I brought it is because there was a thing I saw that like 65 or 66% of profiles made on Tinder, and other dating apps are mostly men that are just looking for people to spend time with.
Well,
but I also learned that some of the people on those, a lot of people who feel lonely, also have an idea. Like, I think they have an idea of how like things are supposed to be that they may have to break out of themselves. Actually,
well, kind of like force themselves into it.
No, I brought this up. I was talking with two of my friends today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not too sure. Fuck. I'm gonna say their name, because who the fuck cares? They can yell at me later. I was talking to my friend Nadia and Alexis about something like this, and there are guys who feel lonely, like they feel lonely, and they're on these apps, and they're talking about, it's like, damn, I feel lonely, like I want this, but like you'll see them with people, or like with people, or they'll see them with other significant others, like the next week, from something else, and they're still talking about they feel lonely.
See, I feel like that. Go ahead.
And I feel like that's the type of thing we were just like, they're just like, you feel lonely now because like I feel like you're trying to force something on someone instead of just enjoying the moment you have with this individual.
Exactly. They're just trying to fill that hole and that void that's in them. They're not really looking for something of significance. They just want something. Yeah,
they recognize that they're lonely, but they're not really looking. Instead of just trying to enjoy it and maybe try to fill it in like naturally, they're just trying to force things into it to see if it works. Well, and if it may work, but it doesn't work the way they want it to work, they'll just get rid of it. They'd rather just be with the whole.
And honestly, that's what leads to a lot of I don't want to say toxic relationships, but like just mismatched relationships where like it feels forced, it feels unnatural, and it's mostly because either the man or the woman they force themselves into that relationship because they're lonely, and they're not necessarily seeking that value from the other person. They're just wanting to fill that loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they ignore it, sometimes they address it, sometimes it's just a fling, but it's like a lot of people do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. I think that's honestly part of that's what led to most of the hookup culture, is where you see people just having sex just to have sex, and then they're like, "Why does no one like? I can't find someone to stay with me." And then you gotta look at them like, "Bro, like you don't look like you're looking to stay with anyone to begin with."
That's very true. Like a lot of people, they end up being like very jaded about the whole idea of being with somebody, to the point where like they're constantly on guard and they don't trust anything that their partner is doing or stuff like that. And it's sad because it's a meme, because like I see like videos on TikTok about it. Like there was one I saw. I mean, I've seen it a few times, like by different people, but like there's one where, like the girl's on the guy's, or the guy's phone goes off like a notification, and the girl picks it up and the guy's just like, "Oh yeah, take it, answer it or whatever."
Oh, I seen it.
You've seen it, right?
And when you're so used to when you have your first non-toxic relationship,
exactly.
And she's like, "Hey babe, your phone's ringing." And he goes like, "Answer it." She's like, "What? What do you mean answer it?" He's like, "Yeah, answer it. See what it is."
Exactly.
Like, are you sure? And then he tells her the code, and she's like, "I don't know what to do."
Right. That's how it is, and it's really sad that that's the joke now, that we've been accustomed to toxic relationships where everybody's trying to hide things from each other, that when it comes around that somebody's actually genuine, it's abnormal, it's weird.
Well, they don't feel comfortable. They don't know how to respond to it.
Yeah, then they don't feel comfortable. They be like, "Why is he so open?" Like, because that's how you're supposed to be.
Then they leave. They're like, there's just a lot of people. I hate that thing, because some people will be like, it's not a real relationship if there's not something like that. I was like, no, that's not how relationships are supposed to be to begin with.
Right. I had a fucking. Nah, go ahead.
Because it's the same shit where people will be like, "Oh, I broke." So it's like I had to break up with them because they weren't fighting for me. I'm like, why are you making them fight to begin with?
Yeah,
that's supposed to. your relationship to love each other, not to be each other's opponents.
Right, it's not a freaking competition.
So like he didn't fight. Like I left him because like he always was like agreeing with me. Like I felt like he would. I felt like he wasn't man enough for like the guys. Like she would like every time I said something, she would just be like, you know what, I understand. Like she didn't fight me on it. Like maybe she had to be doing something. Like maybe like I was like, yeah, dumb.
But yeah.
I was like, what?
I mean, that just goes into the whole like detached era that we're in. Like nobody wants to be attached. They just want to have their out. They want to be able to cut ties the second that something happens, and it's for both men and women. Like they equally are as like detached in relationships. I forgot what I was gonna say before. I was trying to like get it back. It had something to do. I was talking to somebody.
Yeah, I was like, you said you were talking to somebody, and then we laughed at each other.
Damn, I can't remember.
It'll come back eventually.
Yeah, it'll come back. But that just I'm just saying like that type of mentality is bred in loneliness, because when you go for so long being alone, you tend to want to be alone after a while. So the point where like when you start opening up, you start getting into relationships, like you just don't trust because you were left alone before, you know?
Yeah, at a certain point, loneliness definitely can become a home at a certain point, though. Not a good one, but like you're so used to it. You're so, as you said before, like when you're alone, you like to like you realize you'll persevere and fight through it. It's the same thing how I feel when it comes down to pressure. I was like, oh, I like it when the pressure's on me because like I can feel like I perform my best at that point. There's nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But that's not a mindset that we should technically have.
Right. Well, so like another positive is when you are lonely and you're in that state for a while, you tend to become comfortable with it. Like you said, like loneliness can become a home. And I felt like for a long time, and even to this day, like because I was alone for so long dealing with my own stuff, like that became my safe space, kind of, where I feel more productive when I'm alone. Like even like now when I'm in a relationship, like I feel like when I'm alone, I have more like well, maybe you touched on it earlier, like you have the motivation to do stuff. Yeah, I don't know why that is, but that's just how I am. Like I tend to want to do more when I'm alone.
I think like I
am motivated to do stuff when I'm alone.
I think there's two reasons for that personally.
But
I think one of those is because like you're alone, so you feel you're more alone, so like you feel like to get the day going through, you have to just keep doing stuff. Like to feel more motivated, I guess. Like it's the way what you said before. When you're alone, you try to distract yourself by being hyper focused on something else.
Right.
So I feel like that's one reason why, and another reason. The second reason could be that because you've gotten so used to doing things alone that you may not like other people's opinion on certain things that you do. You just like to do it when you're by yourself. You just might feel more comfortable just doing it by yourself than with others.
Yeah, that I think it's mostly the latter, that I feel more comfortable doing things by myself because I have been doing it for so long that that's just my natural state to do things on my own. And that also leads into my issue of like asking for help and stuff like that, because I always like to deal with stuff by myself because that's what I've been doing for years. So it's hard to break out of that mental state.
Yeah, some people, they're like, okay. Yeah, so it's very weird because... Oh, what was I thinking? I'm not going to lie to you. My TV was just going in the background and a person just showed up and it scared the shit out of me. I did, like, like when you get scared but you can't yell, so your heart just beats fast.
What were you watching?
Nothing. It's just playing random stuff on YouTube. Just the person just scared. I hate those. Those are when I'm truly frightened. I've only had like 3 of those, and it always hurts my left arm because my heart just.
Wait, what? It was a scary video?
No, it's not a scary video. It just happened. You know, like when you just see a person just show up in the corner of your eye, just going towards you. That's what it was.
Okay.
And the person was bigger. Like the person was this.
And
it was just a tall. It was just a tall person, and the background was just so bright, and they were running towards the camera that it made it think it was. It made it think it was real life, and it just got my. It just made me jump.
You felt like that tingle down your spine. It's like, oh shit.
I just stopped. I was like, what the? I was like, God damn it. What were we talking about?
Well,
then my heart's skipping a beat, and now I'm afraid.
Well, I was talking about that my loneliness is me being more productive when I'm alone is tied to me being lonely for so long.
Yeah. And so I think that really comes down to. I really think that's just a thing. I think it's because something you. I know you said use the latter, but I think it's more of the first one, where because like you feel alone and it's like a sad emotion. It's like same thing when it comes like when someone's trying to avoid depression. Mm-hmm. It's like they're like, okay, I don't want to feel this way. Like I don't want to feel alone. I don't want to feel sad. So let me do this. That's like it has all of my attention to get it, so I don't have to think about feeling alone, feeling lonely anymore.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that does make sense, and I tend to do that as well, or I think like that.
Yeah, I feel like because I definitely had a moment of that when I was like, I feel sad, like I should be doing something to get my mind off of this. What can I do? Which like led to me doing more. I think that was the time where I did a short story, or I did a poem a day for like 7 days straight. Or I was like looking more into like Twitch streaming to see like how I can help the Twitch channel and everything. Like I did everything I could not to think about, not to just be alone for a while, just not to think about it.
Right.
But always remember you have to face it eventually.
Well, yeah, obviously, like it's not something you can just constantly like put on the back burner, because then that ends up biting you in the ass later anyway.
Yeah, when you're not able to have emotional conversations with yourself or with your significant other or your family.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's. I mean, I honestly see that's the problem. I feel like specifically with family, I feel like it's like a double-edged sword, because and it really depends on like how your family is and how close you are with them and stuff like that, because at least in my experience, people in my family have a certain perspective about me. Mm-hmm. So whenever not that I've done it a lot, but if I open up and reveal a side to them that they didn't really know about or ever think about, it comes as a shock, and then they end up looking at you differently. Yeah. Granted, this is my experience. Like it could be different. Sometimes it could be a beneficial thing to open up to family, but I feel like in my personal experience, like family can be very judgmental, and it can often be very bad for you, for your mentality, at least.
To tell you, when we talk about that, I always think when we talk about like having discussions with families, I always think of the thing I saw on TikTok and Instagram where they're just like, living with your family isn't free. You pay for it in your mental health and your ability to have conversation and your ability to make connections with people.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true.
Yeah, I think if like staying with family for so long, like another thing I said, like you don't, when you're in a healthy thing, you don't feel comfortable because if you like been with your family where like something's always bad's happening, like some toxic thing is always happening. Mm-hmm. Where like, oh, you can't talk to your mom without her trying to gaslight you or something like that. Right. That when you finally get a regular relationship, you just don't know. You're just this isn't what real love is. Like real love is like we have to struggle to make it. Like no,
exactly. No, that's funny you say that. I saw something. I can't remember if it was like on a video or something, but I saw something like that where this generation has been brought up to think that type of relationship is normal, that to struggle to communicate and to just struggle in general, that's how you make it work. when that's not how it's supposed to be. Like that's the opposite of what it's supposed to be.
No, shit. I really do hate that mentality of like, oh, if we're not fighting each other, we're not really in a relationship. I'm like, you don't really have to fight each other to prove your relationship.
Right.
Arguments are like, if you're able to have conversations, then that's fine. But you don't always have to argue with each other to prove you're in a relationship.
Yeah, in my opinion, if you have to fight for someone's love, it's not gonna work. Like, you shouldn't have to prove yourself or beg somebody to feel the same way you feel.
Also, you should. That's another thing. This has nothing to do with loneliness, but like, nah, some of y'all need to be lonely so I can understand empathy. Some of y'all don't understand empathy enough.
Yeah, you gotta go through loneliness to really.
No, fuck that. I thought about it. Some of y'all be wild. Y'all be like, oh, I don't understand this because like I can't relate to it. Be alone. You'll understand it then.
No, it's true. Not okay. So I'm not gonna name any names, but I know somebody who was like that, where throughout their life they never really understood what it meant to just be like to be about your own business. You know, they were always constantly like out with friends or out, you know, doing other things and trying to be like not the party person, but like the more outgoing and extroverted person.
Oh, that person was struggling.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it took them growing up, and once everybody started like, you know, kind of leading their own lives, they ended up being alone, and they had to figure it out later on. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's really hard when it just hits you because you have no choice but to feel alone.
Yeah, that's gonna. Somebody need to get alone before you have to get to that point. Y'all don't know what to do anymore.
It's hard. Like I honestly, like I'm glad that I went through it at a relatively young age because it taught me how to manage it properly and to like we said, to properly like have an outlet that's beneficial for it. Because if I were to deal with it like now for the first time, I would have been done.
How young were you? You know what I'm asking?
How young? I mean, the first time I felt lonely.
No, this is when you really were just by yourself. Like, when was the first time you were truly by yourself? And you're just like,
okay, so, the first time that I was like truly by myself, that I felt like, yo, what the hell am I doing? It was, I want to say, I'm trying to think how old I was. It was around 22.
How much?
Hold on. It was like 2007, 2008. So
the reason I asked this was because I thought I was like I kind of realized what my empathy was because like I didn't really have any friends to hang out with.
Well, I mean that's also plays a part in it.
Yeah, honestly, like I didn't have no friends to hang out with out of school until I got to like the 8th grade in high school. So like until I got to 13, I was always in the house alone.
I mean, I was right there with you.
I didn't feel alone, but like at a certain point, you're just like, that's where you learn to really talk to yourself.
Yeah,
that's honestly where you learn. That's how I learned. I'm like, no, what is about this? Like, why do I like? What does that lead me to feel like that? I guess I could feel like that. I had a lot of emotional maturity at 13 for no fucking reason.
I mean, that's not the worst thing. I mean, there's people who freaking don't have that and they're 30.
The shame. That's what we make fun of them.
Exactly.
Oh my god. Not on purpose, but like those are the people like you like when they write stories on like on like Reddit and Twitter, like, yo, this person was this, and this. And then they're like, oh, man, that sucks. Or, like, they'll be like, you in the wrong for that. You know this, right? You're like, what do you mean I'm in the wrong?
It's like a wake-up call that is just like, yo, there's actually a subreddit.
Am I the asshole? Could I tell you that has consumed my TikTok timeline? Bro.
Yo.
That is all of my TikTok. That's most of my For You page right now.
It's those are the people who never went through that, who never were alone, that they're just oblivious to how much of an asshole they really are.
Some of them are truly assholes. Some of them are just like, my people are telling me I'm an asshole. I don't know what to think. Just like, I'm gonna tell y'all the story that I have, and y'all can just tell me. It's like some of them, like part of like I don't know what to tell you, man.
Some of them, they're pretty like, damn, like that's a real situation you got there.
You hear it, be like, yo, you probably should call the cops also,
right?
I think the one that really stands out to me that I'm thinking about right now, because we're at the end of this segment.
Right.
This hour passed by really fucking fast.
It did. I didn't realize. I was looking right at the freaking timer too.
No, that's fine. This one I'll always remember. This one was talking about how this guy is gay and he's dating his neighbor, who also happens to be gay. But his family is homophobic.
Whose family?
His parents. His parents are homophobic. And
the person's parents.
The person's parents is homophobic and very religious, so they don't like gay people.
Oh.
He's gay, and his sister, his younger sister, is obsessed with the guy he's dating.
Oh.
And so the sister finds out that they're dating because she's full of herself. Like she was stalking the neighbor. Like she was looking through the window and she saw them making out, and she's like, break up with him so I can like have a date with him.
What?
Or I'm gonna tell my parents that you're gay. I'm like, that's blackmail.
I was gonna say, what kind of blackmail is that?
I was like, that's blackmail and extortion, my brother. Like, you can definitely you can press charge on this bitch. Honestly,
yeah,
I'm pressing charges on this bitch.
Yeah, she is out of line for even asking that.
Oh boy, press charges on this bitch for stalking to begin with. How dare you look through someone's window? That's wild. Second.
Speaking of, because I now that we're talking about this, I just remembered one that I saw. It made the rounds on social media. It was there was one that it was about I don't know if they said if they were a boy or girl, but there was somebody who's living in a house, and their stepfather, I think they had just turned 18, and their stepfather was asking them to pay rent on the house. But it came out that because the father had died, but the father owned the house, and when he died, the title or the whatever, the home ownership went to the daughter or their child. Yeah. So technically, the person owned the house, and the stepfather was asking them to pay rent. And
so they own the house?
Yeah, so then they flipped it on the stepfather and was just like, no, you pay rent. And they asked, am I the asshole for doing that? And I was just like, I mean, no, but...
Not really, but like not the best way to handle that situation.
Right, it's like you're just asking for it to be awkward because you still gotta live with each other.
What you did is called retaliation, and it's not the best, but it's funny.
It is funny. I'll give you that.
Probably shouldn't have done it, but who am I to judge?
Hey, we all handle things differently.
We're gonna be on this for the next 2 minutes. I feel it, but there's another one that just came in my head. It's not. I'm not gonna go through it, but it's like, it's about another one where this dude, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but like, their father died, and then their mother married somebody else, but their father died when they were like 1 year old.
Mm-hmm.
So the mother remarried another person who also had a 1-year-old, and then they had another child together. But then, like, he or she noticed that, like, whenever, like, the father was doing stuff, like, he kind of treated the kids, he tried to treat the other kids better than he treated that person.
Right.
And, like, they would go on trips, like, family bonding trips, where he would take only his kids.
Oh, without the... Oh, damn.
Mm-hmm. So when the person asked the dad, was like, why can't I go? He's like, you should go with your mom because, like, I'm not really your parent, and I wouldn't want to ruin the authentic thing, like water it down because you're not my child. And then he left. So when he came back on the weekend, the person was like, yo, what's up, Tom? And then he's like, "Yo," he's like, "You call," and then like that was like at the dinner table in front of everybody. No, and then they're like, he's like, "Why did you call me Tom?" He's like, "Because you said you're not my dad, like you're not my real parent, so you know I'm not gonna call you dad or anything like that. I'm gonna call you by your name now,
right?
Because you start wanna... like." You said it, and then the mom was like, "Oh, you should have treated like you shouldn't be like that. He raised you since he was 1." I was like, "He's like, am I the asshole for it?" My brother's like, "Nah, fuck that nigga. How dare you tell me this?" Get mad,
right? Especially after the way they treat you. I don't care who the hell you are. If you raise me,
yeah, word. I'm like, if you said I'm not your child, you ain't my parent. What's good? What's good, Tom? What's for dinner?
Oh man,
I don't see the problem here. calling a parent by the first name is fucking hilarious, though.
No, it's weird.
Especially when the person's name is Tom. That's hilarious.
What up, Tom?
What up, Tom? What's good? How was work? You hanging out with your boy Jerry?
I just got it. You're ridiculous.
What?
So,
this is Tom's fault. I was good.
In summary,
y'all need to be lonely. Nah, fuck this. Some of y'all need to spend some time alone to understand your feelings. And it's very obvious y'all haven't done it yet. Getting sick of this shit. It turned into sympathy, now I'm angry. My empathy is all along with my sympathy. Now you catch these hands. Now I'm angry.
My right hand's named Empathy. My left hand's named Sympathy. You about to catch him.
You can pick one or the other. My sympathy and my empathy is very strong together.
Ah, man. All right, let's wrap this up.
Empathy. If only empathy was 5 letters, it'd be funny.
That would be pretty funny.
Get tattooed or across my hand. Which one? You want you want E-M or P?
So where can they reach us at?
Oh my god. If you have any comments or anything you want to say to us, please you can email us at excusemebrotherpodcast@gmail.com, which I probably should go look at. It's been 2 weeks since I looked at it.
Uh-oh.
If you want, you can DM us. You can send us a DM on excuse_me_brother, and that ends with an A, not an ER. So it's brother with an A, not an ER. On Instagram, always leave when this goes on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. I do read those. I try my best to respond to what I can. If I can't respond to it, I just like it. It'd be like thank you, and be like thank you for anything you said.
I mean, that's acknowledgement.
Yeah, I forgot one of the people who listened to us, because when I first put it on YouTube, I forgot the hashtags, and they're like, "Man, this is a great episode. Don't forget the hashtag." So I said thank you and liked it, and I haven't forgot it since.
Well, I mean, you listen.
Yeah, I always listen. No one's ever said I wasn't a good listener.
Well,
they said I just don't communicate well. There's a difference. Haha.
I mean, that's it for the podcast, everybody. We'll see you next time.
One of these hands is ready to eat for everyone.
Oh, you Goku? You seen that?
Hey, it's me, Goku.